All right. Now, we already talked about how to figure out our topics, how to develop them, central ideas, specific purpose. Now we're going to, and we talked about outlines. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about speech development and talk about main points and organization and a little bit more about connectives. We touched on connectives, but we'll talk a little bit more extensively about it today. Now, it's important to know, and I've been saying this, but I can't say it enough, that speeches require strategic information of organization. I'm sorry. Right now, putting a speech together, and this means putting a speech together in a particular way to achieve a particular result with a particular audience. Now, there's 3 steps to strategic organization: determining the main points, organizing your supporting material, and organizing your connectives. Now, you need to develop a strong sense of speech organization by gaining command of the three basic parts of the speech: the body, the introduction, and the conclusion. Now, I think I told you this the first day of class. We always start our speech development with the body of the speech. It is the longest and most important part of the speech. Now, the first one is determining your main points. First thing you want to do is select them carefully. Okay, start with your specific purpose. Main points should emerge once the bulk of your research has been gathered. The next thing you want to do is you want to phrase them precisely. Okay? 2 to 5 main points are the norm. That means no less than 2, no more than 5. If you have too many, you want to narrow them down to fit into a broader category. And thirdly, you want to arrange them strategically. Once established, decide what order to present them in the speech. And then you're going to determine the order. And that depends on 3 things: the topic, the purpose, and the audience. Now, for your main points, which basically is a statement expressing a specific idea or theme related to the speech topic. First thing you want to do is keep the main points separate. We told you before that, well, I told you before that you can't have more than one distinct idea. So each idea needs to stand on its own. You want to also use the same pattern of wording. And this is very, very, very important. So I'm going to give you an example of what I mean by this. So say we're giving a speech on the importance of regular exercise. So main point number 1 might be regular exercise increases your lifespan. Regular exercise controls your weight. Regular exercise increases your sleep patterns. Okay. As opposed to just saying it haphazardly, like this. Regular exercise increases your health. You can improve your diet. I'm just saying any words now. You can improve your diet with regular exercise. You can improve your health with regular exercise. Or sleep patterns can be improved with regular exercise. It's impossible to help control it. These are all different ways, whereas in the first example that I gave you, where I said regular exercise increases, regular exercise controls, regular exercise helps. There's a big difference. And the reason why we want to do this is for retention purposes. I think I told you in a class that after a half an hour or an hour, you will remember half of what you heard. But after 24 hours, you might only remember 10% of what you heard. So it's very, very important when you can to use the same pattern of wording for your main points. And you'll see me make that comment to you on your speeches. All speeches can't obviously fit into this neat pattern, but try to when it's possible. Remember, your task as an effective speaker is to ensure that the message you intend to get across to your audience is received in that manner, the way you intend for it to be received. Okay. In determining the main points, you want to balance the amount of time allotted to each main point. What does that mean? That means if you spend 1 minute on main point number one, you need to spend 1 minute on main point number two and 1 minute on main point number three. Don't spend a half a minute on main point number one, 3 minutes on main point number two, and 1 minute on main point number three. Try to balance it out. It might not be evenly distributed. However, try to make them as equal as you possibly can. Now, the amount of time spent on each main point depends on the amount and complexity of supporting materials, right, for each main point. Now, once we get those main points down, we need to organize the supporting material that backs up the claims that we're making. Now, the supporting material must be relevant and accurate. Supporting materials, you can consider them as the flesh that fills out a skeleton of your speech, so to speak. They should be directly relevant to the main points they are supposed to support. Strong supporting materials provide for a more useful and appealing listening experience. And one thing I want to say, again, I've said it before, a speech is not a story. It is way more than a story. It is not an English paper. So you don't have to search for, in English class, your professor tells you, you don't want to use the same words over and over. You want to try to be flexible. But in a speech, that's not exactly the intent. Because when you're reading something, you can always go back and look at it again. But when you're listening, you get that one shot, and that's it. So the speaker must be mindful of the audience's ability to retain the information. Now, there's 4 major kinds of supporting material. You have examples, statistics, narratives, and testimonies, right? Your examples should be colorful, concrete, and active. Your statistics help to prove that the speaker has responsible knowledge of the subject matter. Remember, that's where you're getting that credibility. Narratives, extended stories. Okay, so you can have stories in your speech, but again, a speech is not a story. It is much, much more. Okay, so you can have extended stories, but they should be short and to the point and move naturally from beginning to the end. And then finally, you have testimony, which basically is expert knowledge or some anecdotal information that you may deliver. Now, the third thing we are going to talk about are connectives, right? What is a connective? Words or phrases that connect the ideas of a speech and indicate the relationships between them. Without connectives, your speeches appear to be disjointed and uncoordinated. It helps you to move from one place to another place. You can consider connectives as the ligaments and tendons that join the bones and hold the organs in place. Okay, transitions, a type of connective, internal previews, internal summaries, and signposts. We talked about these before. The transitions indicate when a speaker has just completed one thought and is ready to move on to another. They state both the idea the speaker is leaving and the idea he or she is coming up to. An example of it would be, now that you have a clear understanding of the problem, let me share the solution with you. Internal previews are basically that first part of the transition. Lets the audience know what the speaker is going to talk about next. And it's more detailed than a transaction. Okay. I think I said it was that the internal preview was that first part. That's really the internal summary. The internal preview is what you're going to talk about next. Internal previews work just like the preview statement in the speech introduction, but it's located in the body of the speech. They're used to help listeners keep track of your ideas. And often you can combine them with transitions. Internal summaries are the reverse, of course, of internal previews, right? It summarizes the speaker's preceding points. It reminds listeners of what they've just heard, usually used when a speaker finishes a complicated or particularly important main point or set of main points. An excellent way of clarifying and reinforcing your ideas, and they can also be used in combination with transitions. And then finally, our signposts that basically just tell you exactly where you are in the speech. And frequently they're just numbers. Or you might say lastly, finally, letting you know exactly where you are in the speech. Now there's 5 basic patterns of organization. They are chronological order, spatial order, causal order, problem solution order, or topical. Chronological order, that follows time patterns. And they can narrate a series of events in a sequence in which they've happened. And they may explain a process or demonstrate how to do something. And they are especially useful for informative speeches. Spatial order is the second type of basic pattern. And this is when things follow directional patterns. You may proceed top to bottom, left to right, front to back, inside to outside, east to west, or some other route. And again, useful for informative speeches. Number 3, causal order, where you show cause and effect relationships. Two main points exist for this order: the causes of an event and the effects resulting from the causes. And depending on your topic, either devote your first main point to the causes and the second to the effects, or vice versa. And these types of patterns of organization can be used either in informative or persuasive, but they're almost always seen in persuasive, some form of them. The other one is problem solution order, where you give the problem in the first main point and the solution in the second main point. And then lastly, topical, where you show categories, when the main points are just simply part of the whole. If it's not one of the above 4 that we just talked about, then it's probably topical. And it's applicable to most any subject and to any kind of speech. And they're used more often than any other method of speech organization. Let me let the rest of the people in the class.
Ahí aquí estamos.
Recording in progress.
No le tengo por dos lados.
Gigi joined us.
Thank you, Mick. Yes, I am
You
here
have
too.
2 things
In my
open,
telephone.
so you had to close one of them because we're getting that feedback from it.
Yeah.
Ezra, Kyle. All right. Okay, so now what we're going to do, I'm going to put you in your groups, and you are going to come up with the worst speech ever. What do you think that means? You're not following any of the rules that I told you are required for an effective speech. Now, who in here considers yourself outgoing? Raise your hand. Okay. So we're going to ask all the outgoing people not to be the speaker today. Okay. We're going to use someone who doesn't think they're very outgoing to be the speaker today. So again, democratically, you all are going to decide who speaks. You're going to have 15 minutes for this exercise. And I want you to leave 5 minutes so that you can practice. Okay, so 10 minutes to put this together. Now, listen carefully. What you're going to do is get 10 sentences, any sentence. They don't have to make any sense. Okay, Just 10 sentences. Get them, put them together to create your speech. And you're going to get them out of your textbook. Okay? 10 sentences from any section. And I want all the teammates to help the speaker refine the speech so that the delivery is really, really awful. Okay. Now, the only thing you can't do is you can't leave the room and never come back. All right. That's one thing you can't do. That would be terrible for a speaker, right? But you can't do that in this exercise. You have to stay in the room and you have to actually deliver it. Okay. So are we ready for our speeches? We have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 8. All right. So I'm going to put you in. One group's going to only have 2 people in it. Okay, 15 minutes and reserve 5 minutes to practice. Gigi, you might have to click on join.
Ah, excuse me. Yeah. Yeah.
And Kyle, too. Kyle, are you there? Kyle? How's it going? Do you all have any questions for me? I'm sorry, Craig, I think you may have had your hand up when we were moving into the groups.
I did.
Okay. How are you doing?
We just looking for which where you want to grab the sentences from.
Okay. All right. Now remember, you have really basically 10 minutes to put it together, and then
Yeah.
another 5 minutes to practice.